Call the combined special and regular meeting of the Tulsa Airports Improvement Trust and the Tulsa Airport Authority. It's Thursday, July the 11th, 2024, 8:30 a.m. We approve the minutes of the last meeting.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No good. All right, operating and financial report.
Good morning. I'm looking forward to giving you guys a status update on several things. I thought it was important in this meeting to provide an update as to the checkpoint issues that we had in June, because that impacted many of our customers. We got a lot of attention about that. And I'm first thankful to say that it only lasted for 2 days, really, the impact. But for, the thousands of people who were here trying to get on a plane and faced the delay at the checkpoint, it was a stressful day. And so this was June 10th through 12th, 10th, 11th, and a little bit residual into the 12th. And since that time, since we've lived through that, TSA has really done an extensive review of the equipment that we have and developed a plan to make sure that attention is focused on the operational capability and continuity of these machines. So their partner is Smith's Detection, which is who is the provider of the equipment that failed at the checkpoint. They have decided to locate parts in Oklahoma to support this region of the country and provide parts quickly when needed. They're doing predictive maintenance now so that if they have parts that fail frequently, they will be able to have them in stock ready to go. They did a full audit of all of our machines to identify if there are specific concerns. And Paul and I are meeting with their team today to just get an update as to how that audit looked. I do want to say, though, that there were a lot of wins from an operational perspective on my side of the fence, and that was the communication that occurred with our TSA team throughout the event. We have a new FSD, a Federal Security Director for Oklahoma. His name's Matthew Ketchum. He's right over here. He just moved to Oklahoma yesterday. And so he was in Portland, navigating this from afar, but engaged through the magic of digital meetings with us throughout the event. And our local team, we are Gino Constantina, who's our AFSD of screening, Ben Berry, all of our TSA officers who were here really handled the situation professionally, tried to keep customer spirits up, and tried to get people processed as quickly as possible. Our airline partners as well were providing free checked bags, which, for Southwest, that's always the case. But, the other airline partners, that's not normal. We were all doing everything we could to get people through as quickly as possible. And so I just wanted to let you all know that there has been after action that's been taken and an intense focus on this, because we know it's important to our customers, and we will continue to focus on this because in Tulsa, Oklahoma, we can't afford to have 3 of our 5 lanes go down. We don't have another checkpoint to send customers to. And it's not just the airport staff that's putting focus on it, it's the TSA team here. And my discussion with the TSA administrator really emphasized that to me too. So just wanted to hit on that. And part of that is because of how busy we are. We're in the heat of summer traffic, literally. And so Berdetta's going to provide an update here in a few minutes on our May activity. She did send me June numbers. I got a little bit of a preview of that. And officially in June, we're 6% above where we were last year, 11% above 2019. We're the busiest we've been since 2008. And we continue to anticipate the summer we'll see these this decade record high numbers. And that has created some congestion in our parking facility. And if you all tried to pull into the parking lot today, our garage on level 1 only had 15 spaces probably. We're doing audits of our parking garage 3 times a day. And then the LAS operator is out there all the time. So we are at 82% capacity for parking today. Our peak days are really in the middle of the week. Tuesdays and Wednesdays tend to be the peak days for parking. But we're just keeping an eye on making sure we have the availability and then directing customers when they get here, not having them drive around, but directing them to where the next available space is through signs, and even having people out at the entrances when we're at capacity in the garage. But it's a good problem to have, and it just continues to put the emphasis on the need to find a solution. And so Sherry has been working with our consultant who's helping us with our rental car negotiations for our new rental car lease. You know, ultimately, we would like to move the rental cars to a different location, so that would open up the entire second level of the garage for parking. And so we are meeting with our rental cars at the end of this month, and we'll begin that conversation. I'm sure it'll be a fight because they're not going to want to move, but it's something that we will need to do to support the long-term growth of the airport. I did want to highlight our Norsun announcement that officially came. Of course, you all took action on this back in March, but the big announcement that took place at the Select USA event, Daniel, of course, has really been the spearhead leader for this project, and continues to work with the Norsun representatives that came to Tulsa. Was it last week or the week before? Right after this announcement, to do a little more community engagement. And we are anticipating to have the lease officially signed. We don't have a signed lease yet, but it's coming. And look forward to the additional revenue that that's going to bring for the airport operation. This one lease will generate almost $500,000 a year in revenue for the airport. That's meaningful money that we can use to put back into airport infrastructure. And so I just wanted to give a shout out to Daniel for the work that he did. I'm glad you were there to be able to celebrate the announcement too with the team. The city of Tulsa has been a big proponent of this project and providing EDIF, Economic Development Infrastructure funding for this project. And we continue to work on several exciting projects that will potentially bring additional revenue. You know, what Daniel always tells me is he hopes to work himself out of a job. And then we'll figure out what's next for him to develop once all of our land is fully occupied. I did want to just highlight our ambassador program for a second. This summer, we celebrated over 100, or not 100, I'm sorry, around 50 volunteers who reached a milestone anniversary event. These two volunteers, Frances Luckhart on the left, was a Concourse A co-chair for many years. She's a pilot. She's been volunteering on Concourse A on Tuesdays from 11 to 3 for 20 years, volunteering. And then Mr. Bob McKim next to Frances, he works on Concourse A on Monday mornings from 7 to 11, and then he works on Concourse B on Wednesdays mornings from 7 to 11, so twice a week. He's 97 years old, and he's a veteran from World War II, and he's volunteered here for 20 years.
Wow, that's awesome.
And so we just have the best volunteers, and it's so nice when we're able to recognize them and celebrate them for the work that they do because they love it. They love the engagement with our customers and with our employees. So that was a lot of fun. And we are in the middle of ACE camps. So we do aviation career exploration camps in the summer. And our team this week, Wednesday and Thursday, has a group of about 24 students that are here. We partner with all of the airport operators. This is at American, but we take them to Lufthansa Technique. We take them all across the airport to give them an idea of careers available to them in our great industry. And we did, if you notice walking in, the Sun Rising Art installation is up. We have the official opening event tonight from 5 to 7 p.m. That has taken the artist, I think, a little bit longer than he thought to get it just right. But we're excited to have it move, the panels rotating, and it's interesting to listen to people as they walk by discuss it. And we're going to encourage our customers to share their sun rising pics from the airplane window seats in the months ahead. I did want to take a second just to talk about the tower groundbreaking event. It is scheduled for August 1st. All the invitations went out on Monday. I thought the timing was just really, apropos because, of course, we lost Senator Inhofe on Monday. And I'm thankful that we were able to recognize him in April of 2023 at the TGA event. He knew we were naming this tower in his honor because of his commitment to seeing this project come to fruition. And it's not just this project, it's his support of aviation in general over his years and decades of service. He had many accomplishments that for himself as a pilot, he was a Riverside tenant of ours for decades, but really for the industry. He supported a bill that separated the FAA from the DOT and gave the FAA some autonomy in their operation. And so we will be recognizing him again at the groundbreaking event, and we'll continue to do so in a couple of years when the project's complete at the opening of the tower. But I just wanted to take a moment to recognize his contribution to this project and how meaningful it was. And I hope you all will be able to join us on August 1st. And it'll be 75 degrees. That's my prediction. But with that, I'll turn it over to Bernetta.
Good morning. So as Alexis alluded, we had a really great May. All of our activity revenues were up. Our revenues for the month of May, comparing May, were $281,000 more than we earned last May. And we're at $3.3 billion for the fiscal year to date. That's driven by our signatory landing fees, parking, terminal concessions, interest, CFC revenues, and our non-aeronautical revenues are also up. Our expenses are also up 6% when comparing May to May, and they're up 11% year over year. Driving this are our personnel expenses, our safety and security purchases this year, the baggage conveyor system. We've purchased a lot of parts for that to keep it going in good repair. Our parking management expenses related to parking are up because we have more parking activity, utilities, repairs, and technology related expenses. So that brings the net to about $732,000 more than where we were at this time last year. Our food and beverage had a great month. They earned $50,000 more than they did last May, and they're up $464,000 for the year-to-year comparison. The same with retail, $98,000 more in comparing May to May, and $602,000 more than they had earned last year's fiscal year to date. The parking activity is up 3% for the month. They're just running pretty flat for the fiscal year to date. We have had more ticket pulls in valet and in the garage, but the economy lot has had a higher average length of stay than last year. And the parking revenues were up 9% in May. That's about $100,000, and they're up 4% for the fiscal year to date. The rent-a-car gross is up by 5% over last May and just 2% for the year to year. The transaction days had a great May, up 11% from May to May and 8% for a fiscal year to date comparison. RVS operations were down 5%. Hopefully we'll see that start to improve due to the runway not being closed. They had a great flow fee though, up 9% for the month, and still down 5% for the fiscal year comparison. In-plane cargo, it's just, it's down. I don't know what to say, it's difficult. Our in-plane passengers, great month, 8% comparing May to May, 5% for the fiscal year to date comparison, and 4% for the calendar year to date. So this slide compares our budget to actual. We're up 14% in revenues and down 3% under budget on expenses. Our revenues equate to like $5.9 million more than we had projected. It's driven by pretty much the same thing as the actuals. The signatory landing fee, our terminal concession, advertising is running above budget. Our non-aeronautical and the airfield, our flow fees are actually under budget, but our leases are above in that category. The parking, rent-a-car, it's doing great. And our miscellaneous revenues, interest is just, it's over budget by 1.5 million. So that's what's driving a lot of that increase. So expenses are about 773,000 below budget. Our medical and the salaries, our medical is running under budget, even though our actuals are above where we were last year. The materials and supplies are up about 8%, and that's due to our security, a security project, our baggage supplies, and our passenger boarding reports. Services are below budget, about 4%, and that's mainly our consulting got off to a little slow start this fiscal year, and that's what's driving that. So this next slide, you can see our cash position. We have $117.7 million in the bank. That's about 21 million over where we had last year. Last month, sorry. In the month of May, we received our MOA from the FAA for $23 million. So that's what's driving that. In the month of June, you'll see at least 7.5 million of that drop as we pay for the reimbursable agreement. Any questions?
Good.
Well,
Thank
great
you.
report, thank you.
Okay, we're administrative finance, IT and operating contract action, item number 4.
I'll be discussing item 4, but before I request your approval, I'd like to just give an update on our advertising program. I have Kathleen Hobbs here with me today. She's our advertising sales manager, and she's been in this position since November 2021. Has been doing an amazing job. So just wanted to highlight some things that are our top advertising locations and give some updates. Possibly. Oh, okay. So as far as revenue history, we had Clear Channel in the past to manage the advertising program, and that was taken over by the airport in 2015, whenever Kim Keeler started. And we were receiving about $130,000 a year in revenue from them. And so whenever Kim took it over and we contracted through our in-house program, we were up $311,000 for that fiscal year of 2016. It continued to grow, was doing phenomenal until COVID. So you can see a little dip there with fiscal year 20 into fiscal year 2021, where we were at $520,000 down to $394,000. But we've been making progress trying to get back to those numbers. And in March of this year, we had our fullest month, and that was $8,950 a month that we were receiving from advertising revenue. And so we're closing out this fiscal year with a total of $510,000. So getting back to those pre-COVID numbers, and that's what is actually collected with third-party revenue. So that is, in the past, the security bins that are no longer an advertising option for us. Just with TSA, they have done away with those bins. And then the big guys advertising that's in the restrooms and Whistler billboards that are on our property. So that's combined with what we have currently in the terminal. These are our top advertising locations. And so the elevator wraps, these bring in about $120,000 a year when they're fully sold, which River Spirit has had this contract for 2 years.
No,
No.
they've had it for, I think, 5 to 7 years.
Oh, my apologies, 5 to 7 years. And so we're just waiting on that renewal. But once that renewal gets approved by them, that would bring in $120,000 a year. The meet and greet monitors, this is a new addition. We've had these for 2 years, I believe. And when they're fully sold and all the playlists are full, that brings in a potential of $216,000 a year. This is one of our definitely popular locations because of the ease of changing out the graphics on this. Digital is definitely what advertisers are wanting because it's less printing costs, and they can update as events come. The third are the escalator wraps. So these are in the baggage claim areas and then in front of the checkpoint as well. When all 4 of those locations are sold, that's $48,000 a year. The terminal beams is one of the newest locations that we have. It was first requested by the Woody Guthrie Center. And so that was something that we installed 2 or 3 years ago as well. And now the Philbrook Museum has this. So if both concourses are sold, that brings in $48,000 a year. And then the backlit displays, these are in the meet and greet areas. Right before you go down the escalators, those are about $26,000 a year. And then the revolving doors were also popular, so the ad on top of the revolving doors and then in the actual vestibule itself. But these will actually be going away with our vestibule project as well, but those would bring in a revenue of $21,000 a year if all locations were full. Some new advertising locations that we would like to start selling is the first is the airport Wi-Fi video. So this is the public Wi-Fi that passengers can log on. And so it's free for them, but they have to watch a 15-second video once they connect. And so we're looking to sell the 15-second video. Right now, that just shows an airport ad for flying nonstop. But once this is approved, we'd be able to sell this for $1,400 a month, a potential of $1,600 a year. And we have a couple of clients that we're looking to pitch this to once this gets approved. And then the bids digital boards, right now they are printed boards. So the picture on the bottom, this is what it will look like. This is on baggage claim 6. It's just not completely finished yet. They're waiting on some material above the screen. But it will show our bids. And so that's a rendering of seeing what flight is coming in for your bags. And then an ad will be able to be underneath. And so if all of those locations are sold and the playlists are full, this is a potential of $360,000 a year. And this is another digital display that we're excited about because, you know, you can have video on here. Justin Thompson restaurants currently have a static ad of a steak, but, you know, seeing actual experience at a restaurant will be really cool for us to be able to sell to potential clients. And then we have a few rate increases, just wanting to discuss. The meet and greet monitors, like I mentioned, are extremely popular. These were purchased in fiscal year 2023 for $20,000. And since April 2023, these have made $55,000. So definitely paid for themselves. Absolutely, like I said, a popular location. So we're ready to increase this to $1,250. It was $1,000 a month for long-term contracts, which is 3+ months. And then the connector hull vinyls, these are on the end caps of the concourses before you exit the exit lanes. And they were $1,200 a month, and we'd like to increase this to $1,400 a month. These are always sold. People want long-term contracts with these. So once their long-term contracts end, we'd like to increase to this amount.
Very good.
And so for item 4, unless I have any questions. Item 4 is to approve the advertising rate card referenced in the airport schedule of rates, fees, and charges.
Any questions on item 4?
Move approval, item 4.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 4 is approved. Item 5.
Item 5 is a housekeeping issue, got the wrong number in there, amend approval for the renewal of general aviation liability insurance. Effective July 1st, change the premium from $92,008 to $96,609.
Moving the wrong way, Jeff.
I know.
And what all does that cover?
General liability aviation, so that would cover the risk that we have with regard to slips and falls. Aviation, if we've got any aviation, something that's just.
Tarmac and.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 5 is approved. Item 6.
Item 6 is approve the purchase of 25 tasers, training and associated equipment from Axon Enterprises Incorporated in the initial amount not to exceed $10,501 with 4 one-year terms at $22,436 for ongoing services and licensing costs. Today, our officers have pepper ball guns, which in confined spaces, if we have to use that, is not conducive to safety for people around the area. And really tasers is the way that most law enforcement agencies have gone. And so what Dan, our Chief Hansen, he's back there. Chief Hansen has told me that this, it will improve safety for our officers and our customers in the terminal.
Move approval.
But I think that's a good move. And do they need that much maintenance? I mean, I'm just curious.
So Axon is the gold standard, and if you recall, we purchased Axon cameras recently, last fiscal year, and the first year is discounted. They discounted the first year. The ongoing maintenance is maintenance, training costs. We've got dummies that we're going to get to practice on. So There's a lot of data connection. They're computers that are attached to your hip pocket. It'll tie into our infrastructure. We can see data. It ties into the cameras as well. So it really is an all-in-one solution that just improves our overall safety for officers.
I'm for the dummies. You don't want the board to volunteer.
Yeah, Dan joke, I've shaved my head for United Way a couple of years. I'm not sure Jeff would allow for our insurance policy.
Glad we got the general liability.
Yeah. I'll decline that for United Way this year.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 7,
Item 7 is accept and approve pending FAA bill grant in an amount up to $12,500,000 for the construction of the TUL air traffic control tower and terminal radar approach control facility. This is one of our ATP grants. This is the 2024 ATP grant that we just received, or will be. And we're submitting another application for another roughly 13.8 million for 2025 bill grant. Management recommend approval of item 7.
Move approval, item 7.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
Item 8,
If I could, I'd like to take item 8 and 9 together. They are associated. Item 8 is accept and approve pending FAA AIP grant in the amount up to $945,000. Excuse me, for the ARF vehicle and associated auxiliary equipment. And item 9 is accept and approve award a contract for the ARF vehicle with Oshkosh Airport Products in the amount of $979,115. We did receive 2 bids for this ARF vehicle. The highest bid was just under $1,074,000. Engineer's estimate was just under $1,093,000. There was 11.6%. The estimate was 11.6% above the lowest responsible bidder. The CIP, capital improvement plan on this project, had a total dollar amount of $880,000 for this truck. Of which TAIT portion was 88% or $88,000 or 10%. Because this bid came in a little bit higher than anticipated, the increase to TAIT would be $9,911.50. We had a 0 goal for DBE on this project, and management recommend approval if there's no questions of item 8 and 9.
Move approval.
Second.
item 8, 9, all those in favor?
Aye.
None are approved, item 10.
Item 10, if you look at the screen, there's some really pretty interior elevators here. Item 10 is to accept bids and approve award a contract for the terminal elevator modernization project to American Elevator Company Incorporated in the amount of $882,000. We received 2 bids to modernize 6 elevators. The highest bid was $1,345,536. Engineer's estimate was $810,000. That estimate was 8.2% below the lowest responsible bidder. In this case, again, the CIP, capital improvement plan, had $800,000 to replace or rehabilitate 4 elevators. We estimate about $200,000 apiece. We went ahead and made those 4 the base bid, and then we turned around and had an additive alternate or 2 more elevators because they were in need of repair and facelift as well. Total for 6 of the elevators was only $82,000 over our CIP. So basically for $82,000, we're getting an additional 2 elevators rehabilitated. We are a little over budget, but for that cost, it would only make sense to go ahead and proceed with those.
Is this just fascia or is it mechanical?
Both. Right now, the elevators are not meeting code. This is going to upgrade all these 6 elevators to code, to meet code, and also brighten them up on the inside.
Okay.
So, and management recommend approval of item 10.
Good question.
Yes, sir.
Can we add an advertising opportunity in here somewhere?
We do have some airport advertising on the opposite side for parking and nonstop destinations, but.
The picture of me in there is not gonna work.
Do you want to pay about it?
Move approval, item 10.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 10 is approved. Item 11.
Item 11 is accept selection approval award contract for professional design services to Olson Incorporated in the amount not to exceed $130,500. Excuse me, and contingent upon FAA grant funding for the rehabilitate and widen runway 1331 at Riverside. Management recommend approval of item 11.
Any questions?
You have approval 11?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 11 is approved. Change orders, item 12.
Item 12. And before I go into that, we do have 2 cameras, one on a terminal building and one on a, what we call the exchange building, that is looking at the, construction of the FIS. They take a photograph every, I don't know, anywhere from 30 minutes to an hour. We can adjust that so that at the end of the project, we'll have a stream of how the building was built. This is a photograph from the camera on the Concourse A. Not a whole lot. There's a lot going on. It doesn't look like it. It looks like we just pulled some concrete up and then just made a big mess. But we are getting utilities installed, relocated and so forth. So we are in a process. We are moving on that project. And item 12 is approved change order number 3 with Flintco LLC in the amount of $99,930.64 for the customs facility project. This change order will compensate the contractor for replacing gas lines that we have identified are leaking. And it is also adding additional steel to the bridge at the existing structure. So basically, just about where this camera is located is where you're going to enter a bridge that goes out to the customs facility. There was some misunderstanding or wrong calculations or something with how that bridge is going to tie into the existing building. And additional steel needed to be installed in its place. And this change order will take care of those 2 items.
Was that a change order initiated by the engineer or an architect or by the contractor?
What the contractor did was identified or did a laser scan of both, I believe, of both inside and outside the building. And by doing that, it identified that there's something wrong with the dimensions, the measurements from the plan to the actual building. We are working with the consultant at this point, trying to identify how this happened. The survey from the design and the survey, the check from the contractor came up with the same thing. And when we did the scan, again, something didn't look right. And they worked with the contractor, the consultant, and identified that this was a problem. So.
And did they get multiple bids for the change order?
I don't know. We can look that up and get that information. I would presume that the bid or the contract that they currently have with the subcontractor was just increased cost, but we will check.
It's just basically the same issue we had when we did the revolving doors and had to put additional steel in
As the header,
As the
yes, to
header.
tie the 2 types of facade together, yes.
Any other questions?
Move approval, item 12.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 13.
Item 13 is approved change quantity number 1 with APAC Central Incorporated in the amount of $6,320.65 for the Riverside Taxiway Connector Phase 2 project. This change basically just reflects the actual quantities used on the project, and management recommend approval of item 13.
Move approval.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I missed a second, sorry.
Mayor.
Mary. Okay, do we have any other?
I'm
Okay,
14.
we're just going, I'm just going down there, contracts and concessions.
Item 14 is to approve amendment number 3 to the sublease agreement with All Clear LLC to increase the square footage and adjust the rentals accordingly. We would recommend approval unless there are any questions.
I have a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 15.
Item 15 is to approve peer-to-peer car sharing concession agreement and permit with Churro Inc. effective September 1. This is basically a renewal of the existing agreement. We'd recommend approval. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Tulsa Riverside, item 16.
Item 16 is to approve assignment of sublease and acknowledgement and consent to assignment from Ike Ends to B87 LLC effective upon closing, but no later than July 13, 2024. This is for lot 4, block 11, hangar B87. We would recommend approval.
Move approval, 16.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Item 17.
Item 17, we would like to withdraw the tenant and delivered payment yesterday.
Okay, we need a motion to move to executive session.
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Keep paying.
Hey, babe.
Most,
We're out of it.
Yeah.
I would,
Don't record yet.
Okay,
I make a motion, we come out of executive session.
Second.
all those in favor?
Aye.
We are out of executive session. Is there any old business? Any new business? Motion to adjourn.
Don't move.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.